If you are a first-time podcaster, then you will know how difficult it can be to get things going. You may be worried about what to talk about, and even if you do have a topic, you may be unsure as to whether or not people are going to tune in. If you want to do something about that, then this is a guide for you.
What should my first podcast say?
Ideally, your first podcast should introduce what you do, and it should also talk about what you plan to cover in your future episodes. It's also a good idea for you to try and talk about any future guests you are planning on having, so you can get people hooked on your concept.
Can you get rich from making podcasts?
Sure, you can make quite a lot of money from creating your podcasts. The main thing that you have to remember is that you will probably lose out during your first few episodes. After all, you need to buy quality equipment, and you also need to make sure that you have a website or service to help you to get your podcast out there. After these initial expenses are paid for, though, there's no reason why you can't make your money back.
What should I call my podcast?
Your podcast name should reflect what you are going to talk about. It should also center around a theme. If you can do this, then you will soon find that the name you come up with is fitting enough to become the title of your podcast.
12 tips to help you create the best podcast.
Marketing professionals all agree that podcasting is a fantastic way for you to build an engaged following. It's also a good way for you to establish yourself as being a leader in the industry. That being said, creating content for your podcast is very different from creating content for your blog or your website. Even though there isn't a right and wrong way for you to reach your audience, you do need to make sure that you are promoting your brand and professionally conducting your podcasts.
Know why you are doing what you do.
You have to know the reason why you are doing the podcast in the first place. You need to know your purpose for it as well. Are you an expert in the business? Or are you able to give people business advice? Either way, you have to make sure that you have a clear idea. With 50% of people being fans of podcasting, it's safe to say that there's never been a better time for you to invest in this market.
Take the time to learn.
Learning from the inside out is a very good practice. When you look at podcasts, you will soon see that there are many podcasts out there that tell you how to start your own, but nothing is quite as effective as working on them yourself. Before you go ahead and launch, you need to target some podcasts you love and then get a feature slot. If you can do this, you'll soon find that you can gain the experience you need.
Plan for targeted success.
Before you even think about starting a podcast, you need to plan for success. You have to be honest about your motivation, and you also need to be truthful about the amount of time it is going to take you to get through to your audience. Most podcasts have under 1,000 listeners.
Get the help of an expert.
Enlist the help of an expert if you can. A lot of podcasters will be more than happy to share their own experiences with you, so use it. Sometimes they will even offer you classes or coaching sessions if you are willing to pay for them.
Be clear about your value.
Be clear about the value you want to offer, because that is why people are tuning in. Your goal is to essentially deliver the biggest amount of value in the shortest space of time. If you are not clear, then you won't be able to do this.
Find your voice.
Find your unique voice and also be consistent too. Don't be afraid of being perfect before you launch. Your podcast will grow with you.
Rehearse.
You have to rehearse, and you also need to try and prepare as much as possible. You need to find the right times to talk and the right time to interact. If you are fielding questions, have some contingency plans in order, just as you would if you have a live presentation coming up. Don't worry if you cannot answer a question right away, and take it all in your stride.
Be consistent.
At the end of the day, podcasts are a fantastic way for you to promote yourself. You may even find that you can become a leader in your industry too. If you want to gain this following though, you have to put a focus on being consistent. Post at the same time every week, and also maintain your structure.
Become a conversationalist.
People often put on a podcast when they are driving or when they are going out for a jog. Sometimes they do it so that they can have a break from all of their Zoom calls. Either way, you need to try and make sure that you give your audience something worth listening to.
Record episodes in advance.
Recording in advance is the best way for you to make sure that you always have something to publish. If something comes up or if you are busy, then you still need to make sure that you are pushing your content, because sometimes your users will be expecting or waiting on it.
Don't mimic others.
Try and make sure that you do not mimic other podcasters. The market is tapped, to say the least, so you have to make sure that you are offering something unique. Focus on something that is in demand and make sure that you take the time to adapt your approach.
Use your guests.
Choose guests that have a big social following and ask them to share. This will help you to establish a big social following, and it will make it easier for you to tag everyone too. Asking for feedback is also a very, very good idea.